You want to know exactly what you're putting in your body and why it's there. Well, at Ritual, we have those same ultra-high standards, which is why we've invested $5 million in clinical studies and why every ingredient we use is traceable, science-backed, and formulated by dietitians. From our best-selling vitamins to our 3-in-1 gut support. Get 25% off at ritual.com/podcast. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
In business, there's no room for guesswork. Every shipment matters. Every deadline counts. When you're trying to keep operations running smoothly, the last thing you need is uncertainty. That's why reliability is at the core of USPS Ground Advantage. From the moment your package is first scanned in, it moves through a secure nationwide network, aiding in a timely and accurate delivery. You get near real-time tracking so you can keep up with your shipments. And with affordable upfront pricing, there are no hidden fees or surprise surcharges to throw off your cost sheets. It all adds up to predictable deliveries you can depend on. Because knowing your logistics are handled lets you focus on everything else: your customers, your team, and the future you're building. Visit USPS.com/Ground Advantage to start shipping with confidence. USPS, official shipping sponsor of the NHL.
Always follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard on VSiN.
Here we go. Welcome in. Follow the Money on VSiN, the sports betting network. Mitch Moss along with Pauly Howard. We're live in downtown Vegas. Circa Resort and Casino is the spot. A busy 3-hour program lined up today. A lot from last night's action to tie into tonight, and Game 3's upcoming this week. Today's Major League Baseball card. Some serious steam in the last hour or so with these NFL draft props. Mike Detillier on the program in 30 minutes. He has covered the draft for many years and the Saints. We'll get his take on that 8th pick overall. Ryan Kramer, Sports Gambling Podcast, host here on VSiN as well. His thoughts with NFL draft props, and Derek Stevens on the program coming up a little bit later on. We will tell you of that steam happening right now in a few minutes, but how good was last night overall? I mean, that's when you combine, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday, can they find a way to come to a handshake agreement and, I don't know, somehow play NBA games one night, then NHL the next? But with, YouTube TV and multi-view action that's now possible, last night was pretty much as good as it gets for the first round. All that drama, all the comebacks, all the close games. In terms of just being a sports fan, it was great last night.
Yeah, double overtime game. That cashes 3 games going on at the same time with hockey. The finish with Edmonton and the Knicks with a choke job. And that one's we're gonna have a long series here. And that's just a terrible loss by the Knicks, who blow a 12-point lead in the fourth quarter. That is inexcusable.
And they had a 14-point lead overall in the game. How does that happen now, back-to-back games where you get out to what is seemingly an insurmountable lead, but it's the NBA, so teams come back all the time. You allowed the Hawks to go on an 11-0 run to make it interesting in Game 1. You're in almost the same exact spot last night, and this time they hit you with a run that you can't overcome. And I'll tip my cap to CJ McCollum, and I watched that fourth quarter over again. The degree of difficulty on a lot of his shots, where he comes running down on that one shot, it may have been to take the lead, and he's kind of fading away in the left corner from, 19 feet. That's like a 9.2 out of 10. And he just drills it, and the guy couldn't miss until he goes to the free throw line.
Yep.
And then he gives him a pulse anyway, and they couldn't win. And now, that was looking like the Knicks coasting to like a 5-game series. And I think you might be right now, because I'd be almost surprised if the Hawks don't take at least one game at home now.
Hawks are favored in Game 3. The other thing, I got to call out the fan base. After Game 1, we want Boston chance? Come on.
Well, they get a little goofy this time of year.
What are you doing? But it's just, Brunson struggled again shooting. They went after him time and time again, and McCollum torched him on defense. They didn't make an adjustment there. But it's also, you got to point the finger at the offense. To be almost done with the fourth quarter, and they had 9 points in the quarter.
That's right.
That they fell asleep offensively. So Cat dominated again. Hart had most rebounds in the game again.
Which was 7-1.
How about that? That's right. That comes in. But it's just, and the other thing is it's just a terrible trade now. When you evaluate at halftime, not to mention it prevented them from getting freak, is you can't count on Bridges. Gave up all those picks, that huge sequence with 7 minutes left, they're up 9. He's wide open from 3, misses. They get the rebound, they kick it right back out to him. He's wide open from 3, he misses that. They could go up 12 with 6-7 minutes, the game's over. Kuminga comes down and gets the N1. And all of a sudden, we got a 6-point game, and then they couldn't score, and Kuminga was finally good off the bench with 19. And then he misses the game winner,
right?
Which, why don't you have timeouts? And he's still got a good look, but he misses it. So can't get Bridges to make a big shot. Terrible what happened offensively. 18-1 in play. And we'll see what they're made of. They were supposed to be up 2-0, and now they got a war on their hands.
Goes back to my rant from last week about how I would actually love Oklahoma City to get the number 1 overall pick in the draft now that they have the Clippers pick, because some way, like in my brain, that's going to prevent these teams from doing ridiculous trades like the Clippers did with Oklahoma City many years ago. Like that's Exhibit A. Like how many people off the street would give up 4 first-round picks for Mikal Bridges, right?
Yeah, I know.
But a GM and a team, by the way, in the number 1 market in the country, actually did it.
Yep.
Okay.
That's when it was kooky time, though.
Yeah, I know.
The Gobert trade, that trade, that's when teams were handing out draft picks like...
Well, Bane just happened last year.
Yeah, right. And now finally it's like, okay, wait a second. We can't do this. This doesn't make sense.
This is going to be hilarious.
Be a superstar.
You watch what happens, because Bridges is going to get 4 first-round picks. Bane got 4 first-round picks, and the Bucks are going to have to sell Giannis for pennies on the dollar.
Probably.
How about that?
Probably, my friend. Yeah, I told you. Denver doesn't play defense. What do you think, tough guy? Where you at?
Well, I like the Wolves in the series to give him a good one anyway.
I know. Von Tobel's president of the Nuggets fan club.
Certainly.
They do not defend. And our buddy Chad Andrus called it when he was in studio. It's not if, it's when Gordon gets hurt. And he doesn't seem even anything close to 100%. And he gave them nothing yesterday. And the 19-point lead goes bye-bye, and they lose the game.
Now, here would be my biggest concern from last night and the takeaway. It's not that the T-Wolves came back from a 19-point deficit to win. Clearly, these teams play close games. They know each other really well. The T-Wolves got him a couple years ago to go to the Western Conference Finals. It's that Joker looked absolutely out of gas in that fourth quarter. Yeah. And he was struggling almost the way he looked to get up and down the court.
3-point shots, a big problem.
But the shots were way short last night late. Yeah. And so maybe that was only a one-off, and there's not going to be a thing for the series, but that was absolutely a little alarming. And the Timberwolves, again, they got 7-8 guys, despite not being the team that they were over the previous 2 years, like I think with overall depth. They still got a lot of guys that can get you. And they had 6 guys in double figures last night, and Ant looked fine to me. And he goes for 30 points last night.
Sure.
So
needed that.
This to me had 6 games written all over it, at least, maybe 7. And I don't know, maybe the Wolves actually beat them, which I think the adjusted series price is crazy.
Yeah.
The first number that I saw was Denver still minus 240.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here?
Yep. I can see that.
Game 1 was a 2-point game in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So
that's fair. That's fair.
I think it's way closer than the betting market is telling us right now.
Yep.
So now, and then, by the way, game 3, Denver's favored? 1.5 or 2 earlier today at Minnesota.
Yeah, the power rating sky high.
That total is 234, goes over late last night because of it. And they were on a massive winning streak before this. You got some time to think about what you want to do in game 3 overall. I will say this, that for teams that are down 2-0, going back home and playing in a game 3. Now, this is going to be the situation in the other game from last night. Toronto fell down 2-0 against Cleveland. If you go back from 2012 to 2020, teams that were in this spot, they were not great. In fact, they were the below 500 at covering games or winning them outright, full game. First half, 24-12 ATS. It completely flipped around 2021, the year after the pandemic, and books got onto this. First half ATS teams in this situation, 7-10.
That was the first couple of years we were at VEASAN. And it was Jeff Sherman pointed it out, and it went like 36-2 one year. First quarter
and first
half. It was ridiculous how easy it was. But it's changed and it's flipped. And it's hard to get to the window with Toronto after what you've watched the first 2 games. How well Mitchell's played, how they've locked down Ingram.
Well, Ingram looked terrible again last night.
Yes, he did. Yep.
He got his shots. He got a bunch of them up. But they were not going in last night, and his body language was not exactly popping with joy during that game.
Can the Flyers go to the Stanley Cup?
So I thought about it last night when they were winning 2-0, and it looked like they were going to, absolutely win the game. It was late, like third period. They were still 11-1 to win the East. And I had it in queue. I did not pull the trigger. I think 11-1s are now gone.
15-4-1 run. 12-1 last 13 when they score first. shut out Pittsburgh in a game they have to have, return home. Place is going to be a raucous and up for grabs, getting great goaltending and how well they played just to get in the playoffs. That is the definition of a hot team. And I think Ottawa's got to, maybe Ottawa can keep it close against Carolina. Who knows if they pull an upset and come back. But you look around and Tampa struggling, they might not get out of this. Maybe this thing's wide open.
Could be.
And maybe the Flyers can do this. After how well they're playing, they're getting the solid goaltending, and you got the team playing, they're peaking at the right time.
Casanova, Chris Massero has a huge ticket on the Phillies to win the East,
Flyers?
I believe.
When?
It wasn't that long ago. It was like
Can you imagine that
March.
ticket? You imagine that ticket, the number that was available when they were 14 points back in the playoffs?
I think he has 500 to 1. That might be to win the cup.
I believe it.
Yeah, but he'll win. He'll clear 6 figures to them if they take it down.
Wow.
So, look, Rich in Canada, longtime friend of the show who emails all the time.
Yep.
He pointed out again, like he's the person who was sending in all these cross-sport parlays over, previous weeks or months in the NHL saying, the guys, it's Montreal, and they're completely disrespected. And he sent another email in last night that said, I'm telling you right now, the teams that are talked about as the best teams in the East, the order is out of whack.
What's his order?
Well, he said Montreal's coming out of the East.
I've been saying that all year.
And then I responded by saying, I think Philadelphia is a potential fly in the ointment. He agreed with that.
Okay.
But he doesn't agree with Tampa Bay being as high as they are, Carolina, and he said the other one was Ottawa, and that was before Ottawa played their game last night, dropped down 0-2.
I can see Carolina. That I can see, that they're overhyped. But Montreal loses tonight.
I think so.
Call my shot again. Tampa in regulation, $1.15. Cooper calls them out, losing overtime, season on the line, all that jazz.
Now, that's interesting because Caulfield is 65 to 1 to win the Conn Smythe. Now, you have to have a Canadian team win the cup this year. But if that team does come out of the East, that's a pretty healthy ticket to have in pocket.
Or the guy who had the kid who had the Patrick.
Another one. Yeah. Yep. I don't know. Maybe it comes down to one of those two teams. Wouldn't that be something?
I think it's wide open. I mean, Colorado 2-1 in game one.
Yeah.
Edmonton almost lost. Vegas was losing in the third period.
I know.
Edmonton's losing in the third period. Carolina's got to go double overtime. They shouldn't have won game one. Both goals were soft. Anderson was incredible. They made some great saves last night, too. So did Olmark. But this thing, that thing is wide open, I believe.
Sure. Just from an outside perspective, looking at the games, I think it would be fascinating for Montreal or a team like Philadelphia to get there. I think it'd be great.
Oh, I think it's definitely real.
Tampa Bay's been there 1,000 times. Carolina, they've had countless chances.
That's right.
Ottawa would be great, too, quite honestly.
Yes.
So we're going to spin it forward to tonight's action. 2 out of the 3 games on the board fit an angle that is 71% over the last decade plus. I'll tell you about that coming up next.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools, but what they don't want you to know is you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. With VSiN Pro, you get access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
You want to know exactly what you're putting in your body and why it's there. Well, at Ritual, we have those same ultra-high standards, which is why we've invested $5 million in clinical studies and why every ingredient we use is traceable, science-backed, and formulated by dietitians. From our best-selling vitamins to our 3-in-1 gut support. Get 25% off at ritual.com/podcast. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
So now we get into tonight's playoff action. We'll begin with this Rockets-Lakers game in the association, where the Rockets, as we were just talking during the break, the Rockets are priced as if KD is going to play in this game. They are -5 as we speak. Total is 208 on the board. Game 2 here in Los Angeles. And now this was also around the same number, game 1, until about 90 minutes before tip over the weekend. And then all of a sudden it comes out at KD. No, he can't go. And then that number dropped. Lakers still won the game. I will point this out. Steve Mackinnon, read his numbers every single day at vsin.com. I would encourage it. They're awesome. Like, historically speaking, teams that shoot 40% or less from the floor in a first-round game have been awful in the next contest. Those teams are 56, 79, and 3 ATS since 2014. That's 41.5% ATS, and that's Houston. They were terrible in game one. Now, that said, I'm expecting a big bounce. I think Reed Shepherd's going to have a game tonight.
Yep, I'm with you.
Yeah, okay.
At least 3 threes. Yep.
Yes, it's cheap. It's like $1.20.
Yeah, he takes a lot of them. Yep, that's number one. And I know people were calling for him to get more minutes throughout the season. The one takeaway is the Lakers needed that game. Once Durant was ruled out, you better win that game.
I would agree.
If we wanted a series. Now it becomes interesting if this goes 6 or 7, what the status is of Reeves and Luka. But it's priced like Durant's going to play. I think he's going to play, and I think the Rockets win. But the other thing is, there's a lot going on here. As we talked about briefly yesterday, game 1, 93 shots to 66. And I never thought in the second half they were going to win the game. 21-3 offensive rebounds. But that's what they count on. They've been doing it all year. They're number 1 in offensive rebounding percentage. But as Barkley said after the game, and he's right, the Van Vliet injury is huge. They don't have a strategy and don't run offense and run plays.
Oh, no, they were...
To his point, 24% of their shots on the season occur with 6 seconds or less left on the shot clock. It's just throw it to Durant, bail us out, and take a shot. They don't run anything. It's organized chaos out there. So part of their strategy is just attack the glass, get putbacks, have Durant bail us out, and you saw how ugly it was with him, that they scored 32 points in the fourth quarter and they still couldn't get to 100. But it's just standing around, not running a play, not attacking, and it was vintage LeBron in that game 1 performance as well. Kennard probably won't do that again, but I could see Hachimura and Ayton and other guys chipping in, and LeBron getting everyone involved, and he was so good and has played so well now in the last week and a half. But I think this will tell us a lot about the series, assuming Durant plays, what this is going to look like the rest of the way.
So as for watching the Rockets play and how they run their offense, I'll go back to the first game of the year. When they went to Oklahoma City, they were up the entire time. It went to overtime and they lost. They looked awesome in that game across the board, and like they got it offensively. And Reed Shepherd did not have a good game at all, but as you know, I'm the president of the Reed Shepherd fan club. I have a ticket on him to win 6th Man of the Year. That's going to be a loser the way it looks, so that sucks. But I watch a lot of their games play because of him, and they were excruciating on the eyeballs to watch. So everything that you just said is absolutely accurate. It's a tough take. Now, the reason why I think that he's going to have a big game tonight or be in store for one is because you're exactly right. They don't have a lot of other guys who take a ton of threes. This guy has like a green light almost. In fact, they were encouraging in him earlier in the season, like, dude, you're open. This is what you do. What you're supposed to do is hit these shots for us, take more. And he does and has since then. But I will also point this out on the flip side, trying to make money on this game tonight. LeBron's last 4 games with at least 30 minutes. So I'm going to throw out the final game of the year. I think he played like 17 minutes. It didn't mean anything. So when he played at least 30 minutes, the last 4 games, 13 assists, 12, 11, and 15. And those were also without Reeves and Luka. His points and assists in those games, 32, 40, 37, and 45. His assist prop tonight is 8.5. Minus 125 is out there.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't he touch like 10 assists in the game tonight? LeBron played 38 minutes in that game.
Yeah.
And I think, he this is, I think, a little unlike that Golden State game when they won the play-in against the Clippers, where it felt great. They were champions yet again, according to Steve Kerr. And then they got beat by Jalen Green the next night to make the playoffs, or 2 nights after that. I think LeBron knows what this could actually do for him and his legacy if they could possibly win this, and then they get Reeves in. So I don't...
Or if he retires, go out on a high note.
Like, is he going to play 25 minutes tonight?
Says he doesn't want a send-off and a retirement tour. Go out there, yeah. Remember, Houston was like an $850 favorite when they opened.
Oh, sure they were.
The series price was huge.
Right.
So if they can pull this upset and get it done, that's a nice feather in the cap. Great for the legacy, and it'd be great that he goes out and puts up an average of triple-double. Yes.
So I think he's going to play at least like 35 minutes in this game tonight. I got to bet the assist prop with him.
Yeah, I'm with you. I expect a bounce back in a bigger game from Sengun as well. And I don't know what Ayton's going to show up. Is it going to be the guy that's aggressive? Will he get there with the rebounds? Will he attack the basket? Maybe try to get some putbacks? I don't know. That one's tough, but I just don't know. I know Kennard won't shoot like that again, and they can't imagine him going for 27, even though he's that good.
Yeah.
But 5 for 5 isn't going to happen again. I'm with you on Reed Shepherd. The other one, this is unfortunate, but the big difference between the NBA and the NHL, like you rarely see a 7 or an 8 seed be competitive or win a series. But look at in NHL, it happens on a regular basis. You got a 14.5-point spread tonight, and I think if it's going to be close or competitive, it's all about Maxey. Maxey's got to score 30 for the Sixers.
Yeah.
He's got to dish out the assists and get everyone involved, but maybe it's just a complete and utter mismatch in what Boston did in Game 1. Maybe they're just too good. Maybe they roll to the Eastern Conference title. Tatum was excellent, had all the double-digit rebounds, and Hauser hit some threes. They're just, I think they're too good here without Embiid, and maybe they can name their score again. But if it's got to be close or competitive or a ball game, Maxey has to go off for Philly. That's their only chance.
Right. So some of you might be looking at the number and saying to yourself, oh my God, 14 points playoff game. I know the favorites crushed it basically for the opening weekend, but that's a high number. After the Sixers got embarrassed, I got to take that number. I will remind you again, great numbers here at vsin.com. In teams in this spot going back, first round game 2s with a double-digit home favorite. 15-6 under since 2013. And over the last 9 non-neutral playoff seasons, so they Mackinnon threw out the pandemic, which you have to do. There was no home court. First round game 2 hosts are 57-15 straight up, 48-24 ATS. That rounds up to 67% going back in that time. Pretty strong. So I would look at the under again in this game tonight. Those numbers are like elite to point that out. And I would, at first blush, I would say take the 14, but I just can't do it.
I can with Portland.
So could I. That'd be the one team.
Yeah. Now, one thing, this is like the movie Major League, right? Where the owner's cheap.
No, this is pathetic.
Right?
Oh, my God.
Does this trickle down to the team, do you think? So they sell the team, the new owner comes in, and they call him El Cheapo. They're not going to have T-shirts for the Game 3 and Game 4 at home. Two-way players aren't traveling to save expenses after he paid billions for the team. And on the road trips, everyone's encouraged to check out by noon, even though the team bus doesn't depart for the arena for a couple hours so they don't get charged with late fees.
Sure. And like the team masseuse not traveling with the team. Won't allow it to happen.
Oh, come on.
So as people were pointing out, these guys are professional basketball players. They're going to need like work on their bodies on game day. Nope, not paying for it. Not going to do it. Now
that's incredible.
He did the same thing with the Carolina Hurricanes. So, and now they've been, I can't call them a force, but they're a team to reckon with like every single year in the Eastern Conference of the NHL.
Well, how about the big one? The icing on the cake is I'm only going to spend $1.5 million on a new head coach. Isn't Splitter your guy? Took you to the playoffs after what they had to go through with the Billups saga?
Yeah, he was very frustrated.
The coach at St. Louis makes $3 million a year. What do you mean you're capping out at one? But that's what an assistant makes in the NBA.
I will also, and the story, I think it was wherever it was, pointed out, I would agree with this. This can fly with a team like Carolina in the NHL. Yeah, this is not going to fly in the NBA.
No way.
It's like a teenage soap opera is how it was put.
Yeah.
And that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Guys are going to get pissed. Players are not going to be happy with this. But regardless of all that, I do think that this high of a number here, again, this would be the one team that I could see barking tonight.
It's all about Denny Avdia.
Yeah.
It's got to be over 23.5 points. He had 30 and 10 in game 1. The strange thing was Wemby went off points, but only grabbed 5 rebounds.
I know it.
In the game. So big tickets could possibly cash tonight for most rebounds in the game. But I think it's all about Denny. And if they're going to keep this close and try to win, I think it's all about him. And the others were so-so in game 1. But 23.5, he's a big part of their team in offense.
Yeah, it seems a little bit light. I think that the Wemby factor is baked into that number because the guy's been red hot here lately. Are we going to get a Drew Holiday game? Experience shows tonight?
I don't know. 14 points?
Couple steals, plays good defense.
Yeah. I think Denny has a big game. NBA, NHL playoffs are here. One of the best stretches of the sports betting calendar. Sign up for our spring special. Get full access through August 1st. One-time payment, just $59. That's through the NBA, NHL Finals, World Cup, the Derby, Wimbledon, and more. Sign up today. Instant access, every best bet, Every host, every guest, the betting splits, and the AI-powered prop tools, $59, 50% off the regular monthly price. vsin.com/subscribe.
NFL Draft, Mike Detillier next. He has covered the draft and the Saints for a long time. The player they covet most at number 8 is who?
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
NFL Draft time. Huge fan of our first guest today on the program. He's been coming on with us several times throughout the entire year now for many years, and he is dynamite. He's been with WWL in New Orleans for a long time, draft analyst there as well, saintsreport.com. Mike Detillier joins us here on the Progressive Guest Line. Mike, good afternoon. Thanks for the time today. How are you?
Thanks a lot, guys. I'm doing good. Not my first clam bake, so I'm ready.
Oh, there you go. All right. I that would be awesome to have. I would love to try that sometime. Let's begin. So we're going to get to the number 8 pick overall with the Saints. What do you think might happen there? But let's begin with this team that we have now looked at and watched in front of our own eyes for the number 2 pick overall in the draft, like for the last week or so. Earlier this morning, Arvell Reese was a $4 favorite to go number 2 overall. As we speak, that has completely flipped. And David Bailey is now minus 175 at DraftKings, and he keeps climbing. What are your thoughts overall on what's going on in that market and who ultimately goes second overall?
I've always been a guy, I told you guys this back in January, Arvell Reese is my highest rated defensive player, and that's where I'd go. But again, because of the Jets picking where they're picking, they haven't been the most clever team in the NFL when it comes to drafting. I understand the David Bailey situation. He's 4th for me overall and my 3rd ranked defensive player. He's more ready, say for prime time as a pass rusher. He reminds me a lot of Pat Swilling. I saw Pat play a lot. I saw him play at Georgia Tech. And then when he came here with the Saints and then with Detroit and with the Raiders, he reminds me a lot of Pat in a lot of ways. Arvell has never really been used as a pass rusher. He's really been an off-ball linebacker. Occasionally they would send him off the edge, but man, he's something else. I got told by an Ohio State assistant coach in the summer, wait till you see Reese. And so, I said it a few times here on some of our pregame shows for LSU, and they were like, yeah, I never heard of Arvell Reese. I never got another call or text about it after the first game. So, I get where the line is going. For me, it would be an easy pick here, and I would go with Reese. And as we were talking off the air, he's a couple years younger. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And is this team ready to contend? No. I feel bad for Aaron Glenn because they're setting him up. He's not going to be there next year.
Okay, excellent. A lot of GMs said expect fireworks. Are we going to see a lot of trades? And what's the range where the trades happen? Because as you pointed out many times, it's expensive to move into the top 3 or 4.
Yeah, Arizona would be the one team that I think would like to move out of there. But I don't see a lot of trades from certainly 2 through 5. I think after that, that's when you'll see some movement. Teams falling in love with a player, you can say, no, that shouldn't happen, but it does. You fall in love with one guy. And that you have to have, and you're willing to give up some capital to do it. I do think there'll be a lot of trades. What intrigues me is once you get to that 12 mark, and you may have a couple offensive linemen off the board, but that seems to be a hot area. And I think you will see, I have 8 offensive linemen going in round 1 and came real close to putting a 9th. Ooh. I think that's the area teams will try to signal out is to get a certain offensive lineman that they really like. So I think the trades will be later on than say early. And I think the only team that would move out of that top 5, the way I look at it, would be Arizona.
Okay. You really are high on Love. What do you think about taking a running back in today's NFL top 4, top 5?
I have no problems with it. He's a special player because people say, well, he's a running back. No, he's also a terrific receiver coming out of the backfield. And we have Drew Brees do a weekly show with us, and Drew always points out, can he pass protect? Okay. And you watch Notre Dame, he does a good job as a pass protector. So he's a sort of a combination to me. of running style and power of Bijan Robinson and the elusiveness and the pass catching skills of Reggie Bush. He's kind of a hybrid of both those guys. And so I would have no issue with it. He could go as high as 3. I don't think he gets past 6. And he's going to be an instant impact player for the team that drafts him.
Okay. The most likely landing spot for him, though, would be where? You think 4 to Tennessee? That's been like the most common mock spot for him.
Yeah, man, Tennessee. Okay, you just need players. And I try to say this all the time. If you start picking for a specific need and pass a board that you have set up for months and spend, hundreds of thousands to $1 million with, and you're going to just pick a player of a huge need over the better player. I know they have Pollard, and I think he's a good football player. He's not Jeremiah Love, and he instantly helps your quarterback in Cam Ward. You need some weapons around him. And again, not only as a runner, but his ability to catch the ball coming out of the backfield, I think, is outstanding.
Let's follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, Mike Detillier, WWL in New Orleans, draft analyst there as well, and he is on the Progressive guest line. I'm looking right now at the odds to go 8th overall to the Saints, and 2 wide receivers are the short shots on the board. Jordan Tyson, 2-1, Cardinal Tate, 4-1, then it drops off with different players after that. If they're picking 8th overall and like any of these players are available, which guy are they absolutely not going to pass on?
And it came down to me for 2 players. Cornell Tate, the wide receiver from Ohio State. The Saints have leaned heavily toward Ohio State players in the past. They already have a Ohio State wide receiver, Chris Olave, and Cornell Tate's different than any other receiver on this football team today. But the guy I picked does not play receiver, and that's Mansour Delane, the cornerback from LSU. The Saints lost Alontae Taylor in the free agency part of the game, and Alontae got paid a lot of money to go to Tennessee. In Brandon Staley's defense, he has numerous times talked about having a guy that could play out on the edge, could play in the slot. And, he came up with that line, okay, you got a $40 million receiver getting covered by a $2 million third corner. You're not going to win a lot of that. Okay, the Saints came into existence in 1967. You know how many LSU players they picked in round 1?
Oh,
0.
Oh, no way.
Never. Look at that train of players that have come out of Baton Rouge, and LSU has not been a first round. They have not picked a player from LSU in round 1. Mo Buddy Dalton Hilliard was the early selection. I think he went 31 back in 1986, but they didn't have 32 teams in the NFL back then. Dalton turned out to be a good pick, but I think Delane would be, to me, a guy that would be very difficult to pass on, especially if Cornell Tate is off the board.
Which is certainly possible. His draft position is 7.5. I'm looking at plus 425 on Delane to go 8th overall. Now, do the Saints stay at number 8, though? Do they want to move up or move down?
Man, tell me the last time the Saints have moved down in a draft. Since Mickey Loomis has been here, they really have not. They've been a team that has really been more looked at as a team to move up than to move back. So I think as far as moving back, I'd be shocked. I know in my lifetime I'll see it happen, but I'm still waiting on that. So I think they stay at 8, and there's always going to be a pick out of alignment that may throw you a player that you didn't think would be there, especially in the top 7 or 8. And I think they're either Cornell Tate or Mansour Delane would be the obvious choices for this team.
Okay. What do you think the Giants do at 5, by the way, now that they have 2 picks in the top 10?
And I would go with Caleb Downs at 5. I think he's the type of guy that could set the tone for you defensively. And then I try to pick me the best big man that's still there. If it's this Big Francis from Miami or Florida, I would certainly like that particular part of it. Alfano And, get me a big man that can protect Jackson Dart.
Yep.
You can't have him in the blue tent more than he's out on the field. You got to protect him. And so I would try to get me a trendsetter on defense, and that I think is Caleb Downs, and then get me an offensive lineman at 10.
Very good. Mike, you're the best. You can follow him on X at Mike Detillier, Detillier. WWL in New Orleans is the spot. Thank you so much for the time today. We appreciate that.
All right, guys. Y'all take care.
Be good. Enjoy the draft. He joined us on the Progressive Guest Line. Always love have Mike on the program. And for those of you just tuning in moments ago, he said that his pick at 8 to the Saints is Mansour Delane, cornerback from LSU. And that's an incredible trivia question. I knew it was either going to be a sky-high number or rock bottom. And 0? Okay.
Yeah. It's done.
Win-lose up next with some incredible details from last night's hockey results. Pauly's going to detail coming up on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
At Ritual, we believe that backed by science shouldn't just be a tagline, it should be the baseline. Our founder started Ritual when she realized she couldn't find a multivitamin she could actually trust. So she built one from the ground up, prioritizing traceable ingredients and gold standard clinical research. We've spent years perfecting our formulations to ensure they actually deliver, from our pre- and postnatal care to daily support for every life stage. It's an intentional approach to health that takes away the guesswork, focused on the standards that define us: quality, purity, and proven results. Whether it's our flagship multivitamin or our complete gut support, Ritual is the foundation your daily routine deserves. Experience a high standard of science-backed health with 25% off your first order at ritual.com/podcast. That's ritual.com/podcast. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Win Some, Lose Some is sponsored by the Sharp Plays.
Were you a winner last night?
Wow, winning.
Or was it a rough one?
Well, they can't all be winners, can they?
Loser! You're a loser! Pauly Howard recaps the night in sports betting in Win Some, Lose Some.
A meltdown at the Garden. Atlanta was 18-1 in play, and the Hawks plus 220 before the game. Knicks spit it up in the fourth quarter. Minnesota plus 280. Although that was a big number in play, they were down 19 early. Both teams to score in the first minute. Cashes again, plus 180. Most rebounds in the Knicks game. Hart 7-8-1 for the second game in a row. A beast on the boards. Ottawa, Carolina. Will any game in the series go to double overtime? Yes, 3-1. Flyers win by shutout, 10-1. MLB home runs. Raleigh plus 350. Vlad plus 450. Rojas 8-1. Swanson plus 750. Stewart 5-1. And Walker plus 650. Subscribe, be part of the team, vsin.com. Our radio and podcast friends, you always want to see these tweets and videos. At Pauly Does Vegas on Instagram. Send them in, we'll put you on. Guys, send this to me when we're done, both of them. This is great. I'll put it up later on Instagram. This is our buddy Steve Cohen. When he's gone and his wife leaves, that's his dog Theodore, who will sit there on the couch and stare at the door for hours until they come home, and he won't move. How good is that? When are you coming home? What's the holdup? Just staring at the door.
I got a feeling that a lot of dogs do that, and people just don't track it with cameras inside their house.
Yeah.
They probably do the same exact thing.
I like the one where the dog will go get the shoe and sleep next to the shoe until the human comes home.
Right.
That is great. And this is our friend Ozzy, TMI Ozzy. His dog Diggs was, if you can look at the bottom there, Diggs was on a diet. But over the course of time, Diggs has hid his treats in his toys. And you can see right in front of him on the left are his treats, and to the right are all his treats hidden in the toys. So he has extra supplies in case he's put on a diet, or maybe I'm just hungry and I want a snack in the middle of the night.
They hide him to come back and get him a little bit later on.
He has all the treats hidden under all the toys.
After Stephon Diggs, or?
It's named after Diggs, the Minneapolis Miracle.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what he rescued him, and he's a Viking fan.
Oh, okay.
And he couldn't believe the Vikings comeback. Named him Diggs. Yes, I'll show a good one tomorrow, where every time the mother vacuums the house, the dog wants to make sure all the toys are there and nothing was thrown out. Very good. Several bad beats. Oilers, Ducks, first period under. 2 goals in the last 2 minutes. Royals, Orioles. Did you see this one?
Of course I did.
Under 9, 1-0 in the 9th.
Because it's a bullpen explosion by the Royals.
Yeah. Orioles tie it. They get one in the top of the 10th. Kansas City evens it at 2, and it ends up being a 7-5 final. It was 1-0 in the 9th and goes over 9. Come on.
That's the kind of game, like, when you bet these certain markets before the year, like most wins by a starting pitcher, not to say that Seth Lugo was going to have the most wins this year, but you get my point. Doesn't matter who the pitcher is. When a bullpen blows a game like that, when the game should have been over with, that comes back, and that's one W that you should have marked up in that column, and now it's just stolen from you.
Yeah. Thanks to Jordan for sending this in. Bad beat. Joker triple-double. And Joker over assists. He had 1 taken away, and he had 2 beautiful passes to Brown, who missed 2 dunks during the course of the game.
I remember those.
So
was it a stat correction?
Yeah.
Those are always fun.
He had 8, but there was a stat correction, and there was 2 missed dunks, and he was setting guys up all game, and they couldn't knock down shots. So if you had over assists or the Joker to have a triple-double, tough beat. And 1 lose some. Actually, 2 lose some. Justin Emery mentioned this. The Diamondbacks are doing cotton candy burritos with ice cream, and then the Blue Jays have cotton candy with mayonnaise.
Okay, that looks absolutely disgusting, whatever that is, but
cotton candy with French fries with blue mayonnaise on it. Come on now. This is state fair nonsense.
Well, I will say, like, the cotton candy burritos have been a thing in Las Vegas at least for 10 years. You can find multiple spots where they have like these dessert burritos that they make, specialize in. They look good. I've never had one. I don't have a sweet tooth, but for those who do, I'm sure that they're popular.
Yeah. Come on. No thanks.
Oh, that looks terrible, whatever that is.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Mayonnaise on fries or cotton candy flavor. Come on. Baseball every day. NBA, NHL playoffs are here. Sharp Plays covers it all. They've been winning for 15 straight years. When they moves, the book takes notice. Advanced AI, trusted insider intel. They find the value before the numbers shift, and they pull in selections and intel from over 500 pro bettors and sources worldwide across all sports, and they send it right to subscribers in real time. Start winning with them. SharpPlays.com. Give them a follow. They've been with us since day one. You've heard Jeff on the air many times. SharpPlays.com. Excellent.
Updated numbers after last night's hockey action. So Jason Robertson scored for Dallas, anytime goal, plus 125. He now has 16 goals in 21 games against Minnesota. They have won 7 of their last 9 game 2s after losing game 1.
Right.
You talked about that yesterday.
Right. They're winning the series. I love Ottinger.
Edmonton rallied from down 3-2 to win 4-3. All 7 goals in the game were scored in the same net. Did you see that?
Bizarre.
Very weird.
Okay.
The Oilers lost all 14 games this year in regulation. McDavid had 0 points. He was held without a point in game 1.
Yeah.
Anaheim was 24-1-1 in the regular season when leading after 2.
Big comeback.
Yep. And the Flyers at plus 125 last night to win that game took a 2-0 series lead. They are 18-0 all-time in the playoffs when they lead 2-0.
Yes. Good tidbit.
And first period unders, 2-2, now 9-2 under in the playoffs.
Right.
Per Jonathan Davis.
Vicious beating Edmonton. Now, how about the finish of Carolina? I didn't know this, and I played hockey, and I followed it a long time. So Carolina scores, and you think the game's over in overtime. Ottawa's off the ice,
right?
Back into the dressing room. Wait, replay, offside. Messier and Subban didn't agree with the call, but but there's a delayed penalty on it. So then they get the penalty shot, and Ullmark stops the penalty shot. Yeah. So the fans are leaving. The game's over. Mm-hmm. Wait, there's a long review. Oh, no, game back on, and then it's a penalty shot, and they stop that. But the conundrum here is, because it's happened before, what if Carolina, because you pull the goalie with the delayed penalty for the extra skater, what if they score in their own goal? Guy says the game wouldn't have ended then. Carolina still gets the penalty shot.
Really?
That's unbelievable. And but also, how about, you think a game would end that way, but then no, delayed call turns into a penalty shot, they would still get the penalty shot, even though they would score into their own goal.
Well, I'll say this, or I'll ask you the question. Do you feel maybe a little bit better about Ottawa's chances to get back into the series after last night? Could have had that game. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. They're down 0-2.
I don't know how they're going to score. They're going to have to win games 2-1. That's hard. But we do know Carolina has issues on the road. But, yeah, they could be up 2-0. You're right. It's just I'm rooting for Olmark as well with everything he's been through and the mental health. But certainly, and they didn't score, but the 2 softies he gave up in game 1, but he was excellent in the loss last night. Tough.
You mentioned
overtime.
Your best bet tonight in hockey would be Tampa Bay in regulation.
Yeah, they'll bounce back.
They're going to bounce back and win. What do you make of the Sabres-Bruins numbers for tonight? Sabres are minus 175 in the game.
Do we go by the first 2.5 periods, or do we go with the last 7 minutes?
Well, they also had like 30 shots on goal with no goal scored at all. Buffalo. They were out shooting Boston the entire time, like almost doubling them up.
Mm-hmm.
And then finally they cracked the code there late.
I don't know. This one's tough.
The puck line is plus 150.
I'm rooting for Buffalo. Be a great story.
I think that would be awesome for the NHL if this happens.
Yes, it would. Because they're entertaining and then not to mention how bad they've been for so long.
Well, plus the fans there, just like getting the video like during and after these games. I mean, it's going to be next level.
Hard to go against Vegas too. They're 8-0-1 since the coaching change. The goaltending and the defense have been dynamite. This is one time I recommend another first period under.
Well, and also
they've been so stingy. But then again, they were down 2-1 in the third period, and Utah can say, "Hey, we outplayed them. We fell asleep."
Yeah, under 5.5 right now is plus money, almost like 15 cents. Would you play under 6 for some adjusted juice?
Regulation.
Then 7 goals obviously have to beat you.
Yeah. I'm going to do that for every game in the Carolina series.
Under 6.5?
Absolutely. I can't see that. Someone winning 4-3.
Well, that's kind of like...
Can't see it.
This series here, Mammoth and the Golden Knights, I could see every game being below 6 as well.
Yeah.
And then the Kings and the Avalanche. I mean, that's a tight game.
We needed it. Well, it'd be nice to get a shutout right off the bat. But Wedgwood played well, and 2-1. But
they're
that's how the Kings play, though. But I was surprised as well.
You want to bet that game to go to overtime?
Is it almost 4-1?
You can probably find at 4-1, maybe a little bit higher than that on that game, because Colorado is such a big favorite, and the Kings set an all-time record this year for games to go to overtime.
Yep, plus 350 at DK.
Right.
Yep, that was tough. That's a scoreless game late in the second period.
Yeah, we will get into tonight's playoff action coming up next. I think there's a number with LeBron that seems a little bit funny. And also some unfortunate news the way it looks regarding a sports book here in Las Vegas. We'll tell you about that coming up next.
You want to know exactly what you're putting in your body and why it's there. Well, at Ritual, we have those same ultra-high standards, which is why we've invested $5 million in clinical studies and why every ingredient we use is traceable, science-backed, and formulated by dietitians. From our best-selling vitamins to our 3-in-1 gut support. Get 25% off at ritual.com/podcast. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.